You ever have that feeling? Your life's gonna blow, but you're the last one to know it's coming. That was me, Staff Sergeant Marcus Tank Rodriguez, looking at my phone on a dust-choked patrol in Afghanistan and reading an email that revolutionized everything. Settle in. While I'm dodging mortars and wishing for one more sunrise, some woman named Bethany Cromwell, president of our HOA back home in Texas, decides she's going to take my family's land for less than $1,000 in back dues. You understand? I'm bleeding for my country and some suburban dictators making out like bandits over my grandfather's homestead, as if it were something you'd leave behind at a garage sale. See, this wasn't land. It was legacy. 2.3 acres. An old farmhouse where Elena and I vowed to each other forever. A red barn my granddad converted into a workshop. A pond where the Texas sky never ends. Every moment we ever shared seemed seared into that earth, down to the scent of mesquite smoke trailing from Grandpa's outdoor kitchen. That was ours. When I left to deploy, Elena was holding it down, counting the days till I'd come home, dreaming with me of fixing up the house, building a family growing old, surrounded by the sound of cattle, not the sound of city ordinances. But paradise always got a snake. Ours wore pearls and drove a white BMW. Bethany Cromwell, Queen Bee of Willowbrook Estates. 6 years going, married to the city councilman, amassing power like other folks amass coffee mugs. Her true passion directed at military families, particularly the ones deployed overseas, particularly the ones like us. It began small petty treasures for erroneous barn paint for grass my granddad specifically planted for wildlife for unauthorized flourishes on a farmhouse that made it through more Texas storms than Bethany had birthday cakes. Elena worked herself to the bone just to keep up with fines while I was halfway across the globe avoiding roadside bombs. But Bethany wasn't finished. 3 months into my deployment, Elena called me on a buggy video chat. Tears pixelated on the screen, informing me strangers were traipsing through our yard, taking photographs, measuring, making her feel like a criminal within her own home. The alleged final straw. $847 in special assessments on community beautification funds we never owed for work we never saw. Bethany initiated foreclosure before we could even blink an eye. Let me back up a sec. See, Bethany didn't just misread the law. She flouted it intentionally. There's something called the Service Member Civil Relief Act. You can't foreclose on a deployed soldier unless a court orders it, but she bypassed that, relying on our distance to leave us helpless. That was only problem. Some of us never gave up. Elena got on the phone with the base legal department, and before I could blink, our JAG attorneys were filing motions quicker than Bethany could utter conflict of interest. But even that's not the craziest part. Meanwhile, I was battling my own war, and Elena was becoming a detective in her own right, rummaging through public documents in the light of kitchen lamps, learning that Bethany had been purchasing seized HOA homes under the guise of a shell corporation, Cromwell Holdings LLC, and selling them for hefty gains. When Elena mobilized other military wives, she stumbled upon something much nastier. Bethany had been shunning deployed soldiers for years, referring to us as transients running the HOA, unlawfully not registered with the state for 2 years. We weren't merely confronting some petty dictator. We were facing an orchestrated con. I began fighting back from 8,000 miles away, Skyping with my unit commander, Colonel Hayes, engaging Texas AG in legal motions, flying like shrapnel. And you know what? The more we dug, the more Bethany panicked. She managed to get her husband Harold to try and get our property condemned by the city. When that failed, she hired private security to follow Elena everywhere. Grocery store work, even our very own block. Intimidation, pure and simple, only managed to make the neighbors angrier. Then there was Jerry Washington, a retired Army colonel who lived 3 streets away, as quiet as a church mouse, until he dropped a file folder so thick it resembled a prop from Law and Order. Jerry had proof of Bethy's dirty dealings. But even more incendiary, he discovered Harold owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in casino gambling to Louisiana casinos. That is why they wanted our land so badly. They weren't greedy. They were desperate. Elena, Jerry and me, we built the case. Every paper, every infraction, every forgery, Elena documented it all. And when Rebecca Martinez, a local journalist, began sniffing around, Bethy's life went from suburban queen to front-page villain overnight. Justice for Tank trended. Military units across Texas stood behind us. The walls were closing. As all this was churning, I discovered something crazy about Texas property law: mineral rights. It seems when my granddaddy sold surface rights to the subdivision builders, he retained the mineral rights under all 847 acres. Oil, gas, water, all ours. That barn Bethany wanted torn down. It was sitting on a gold mine. Legally, I could put a stop to any construction under every dwelling in Willowbrook, and Bethany did not have a clue until her attorney discovered it. And then, overnight, her little kingdom was constructed on sand. And yet she redoubled her efforts, made false environmental hazard claims, bribed city officials, incinerated documents in the Home Office. Like for real, she thought nobody would realize the smoke. But our team was glued together. Retired JAGs, military wives, the entire block organizing. Elena was a rock star, compiling evidence, playing back Bethy's own words on hidden recordings, her boasting of driving out unwanted military families, confessing to backdating infractions. When Tank's homecoming was posted, 200, then 400, then more than 500 neighbors responded. Barbecue scents filled the air where the smell of Bethy's fear hung. Bethany attempted to gatecrash the party, brandishing forged documents, yelling about trespassing, but no one was having it this time. FBI agents arrived in handcuffs, shining in the sun. Bethany went crazy live on television in front of all the cameras, her entire routine falling apart as quickly as her mascara. The highlight, standing there at that podium with Elena beside me and announcing to the crowd, "You tried to steal from a soldier who is deployed, but you messed with the wrong family. I own the mineral rights beneath every home here. You can't sell what you don't own." The room exploded. Bethany was apprehended in the act, her husband, too. Federal charges, mail fraud, racketeering, the whole works. Elena wept tears of joy. Jerry and Martha were neighborhood legends. That was only the start. We took the mineral rights money and founded the Operation Homestead Foundation, free legal assistance for military families battling HOA tyranny. Elena was a national champion. Willowbrook voted in a new HOA board of veterans. And military wives eliminated the ridiculous fines, initiated actual community projects, and that barn. Now it's where I teach neighborhood kids mechanics and life skills. The old porch swing creaking as children's laughter fills the air again. Congress even passed the Rodriguez Amendment, making it federal law to protect deployed military families from predatory HOAs. Our story went national, interviews, podcasts, the works. Suddenly Bethany Cromwell's name became a warning for every power-hungry HOA president out there. Choose on somebody else because the military families have become adept at fighting back as a unit. What did you think was justice served? Ever seen a populace turn against its own tyrant and emerge victorious? Or are HOAs merely the modern-day bad guys we all love to despise? Share your stories and opinions below. I read all comments and sometimes dispense advice through our foundation. If you've got an HOA nightmare, share it with me. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life drama. Next time, I'll share with you how a veteran made a food truck feud into half the town. Yeah, that's what happened.